Hello and welcome into this RNN news break right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's RNN news break, it is not the happy news that we have had for most RNN news breaks of drivers signing with different teams, getting their 2019 plans set. This, unfortunately, is a driver losing his ride for the 2019 season as that team is shutting down. Chip Ganassi Racing will not be fielding their Xfinity Series program this season. They're completely shutting down the Xfinity Series operation, namely that number 42 car that had been announced to have Ross Chastain driving for the full season in 2019. This comes on the heels of DC Solar's CEO having his house raided by the FBI a couple weeks ago. And apparently because of this, I don't exactly know the details on what exactly transpired, but apparently DC Solar will not be sponsoring Chip Ganassi Racing in 2019 because of this, and that was Ross Chastain's full season sponsor. So because of the lack of sponsorship, the 42 car will not be running in 2019. Now, Chip Ganassi did release a statement today about this, and he said, "Due to a lack of sponsorship funding, we will cease operation of the number 42 Xfinity team in 2019. This was a difficult decision for me to make, and it comes with much anguish, as this is a championship caliber team, having won 6 races and finished second in the Owners' Championship, and more importantly, because it affects a number of good people's livelihoods. Running a car without proper funding is difficult to do." Now, Chip makes a few important points in this, namely that this is big as a whole for the Xfinity Series because this is one of the championship caliber teams. Ross Chastain was in the championship conversation for 2019 as one of the legitimate Xfinity Series championship contenders. He only ran 3 races in that car last season, won one of them, finished second in one of them, and probably should have won the other race had he and Kevin Harvick not tangled at Darlington. He was really fast in that 42 car, and I think really would have put up a legitimate fight for the championship in 2019, and it was just such a fast car all around. As Chip said, they won 6 races last season, and they finished second in the owner points with a myriad of drivers in that car, ranging from Kyle Larson to John Hunter Nemechek to Ross Chastain. So just so much, such a fast car disappearing like this is really hard, and it's another dagger for NASCAR right now. We lose Furniture Row Racing in 2019. Now we're losing Chip Ganassi Racing's Xfinity Series operation. And this also comes at the expense of, we've also had that rumor swirling around that Roush Fenway Racing will be shutting down their Xfinity Series operation in 2019 as well. No official word on that yet, but it was mentioned by Ty Majeski at the Snowball Derby that it looked like Roush Fenway's Xfinity program would be shutting down because they don't have any sponsorship for this season. So there's a lot of high caliber cars disappearing very quickly between the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series, really at all levels of stock car racing right now. I don't think any team is safe at this point. It's so expensive to run these cars right now that you have to have sponsorship. And if you lose that sponsorship, you can't do anything. And that's a conversation for another day, but I think something needs to be done about that going forward. Something needs to be done about these rising costs because we're at the point now where we are losing championship caliber cars because they don't have a sponsor, or in this case lost their sponsor due to some circumstances out of their control. Some things need to change in the sport. But back to this. The hardest thing about this is Ross Chastain now being without a ride. Ross Chastain has so much talent, and he's such a good guy. I don't think there was one person out there, I may be wrong about that, but I don't think there was one person out there that didn't want to see him succeed, didn't want to see him be in top quality equipment, because he showed last season what he could do in really good equipment, and I think he really deserved that, and it's really tough to see him probably not being able to get that chance. Now, we don't know. He may land somewhere. There's still some places that are open. He could go back to JD Motorsports. There's still some cars open at JD Motorsports. So he could slide back into one of those cars, although I'd hate to see him do that. That's a great team, but they're not championship quality. He's not going to win races in a JD Motorsports car. I guess it's possible he could slide into the 9-car at Junior Motorsports for a few races. We already know Zane Smith is running 8 races at least in that car this season. That leaves the rest of the season open for other drivers, so it's possible we could see Ross Chastain in that car. I don't know how possible. This is just me speculating right now, thinking about what cars are open in the Xfinity Series right now that he could possibly fall into. I think we will see Ross Chastain in a car somewhere. The question becomes, will it be a competitive ride? Will it be the ride he deserves? Will it be something comparable to what he has lost here in this 42 car? I don't know. I think it's very hard at this point to find something that's that comparable that will put him in a championship position. I don't think there's really any cars left like that. Granted, yes, he could step into that 9 car, and Junior Motorsports is championship quality equipment, but he couldn't run the full season. As we already know, Zane Smith is running part of the schedule in that car. So we know he couldn't run the full season in that car, but he still could compete for a few wins and at least stay out there on track. So I don't know. There's a lot of pieces now that were in place and aren't in place now that need to fall back into place somewhere. And it'll be interesting to see here over the next month or so as we head rapidly toward Daytona. It's hard to believe Daytona is only about a month away now, to see where all of these pieces land, namely Ross Chastain, where he lands at this point. But that's all we got for you today on this RNN news break. So if you haven't done it already, why don't you go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It's much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been an RNN news break. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.